Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel. Peter likes books. How are you guys doing today? Well, I just got done doing a review over at Starbucks for my review channel of the funnel cake frappuccino. Go check it out. I'm drinking my iced blonde Americano. And I'm running some errands, and I'm listening to Hank Green's new book, something a foolishly clever endeavor, or something like that. I don't know. It's the sequel to, his books have the longest titles I've ever heard, except for my book title. I will tell you this, if you ever write a book, don't have a long title, okay? It's stupid. But anyway, his first book was called An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, and his second book is called Something Foolish Endeavor. Now, I have to tell you, okay, I was going to talk about Deviant, this month's book, or July's book that I finished, that we're going to do in the live stream whenever we come up with it. Mel and I still haven't decided on a date. We may do July and August together, because August's book, we're already like halfway through August. So, first I want to talk about, I'm in the dark on the camera, I apologize. But first I want to talk about, what was it? I want to talk about this Hank Green book. Okay. Now, I absolutely loved his first book, An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, I think is what it was called. And I gave it like 5 out of 5 stars. It was phenomenal. It was fantastic. And in all actuality, I think that, and not that they necessarily deserve to be compared to each other because they're just brothers, but if you like John Green, you will definitely like Hank Green. But John Green, you know, writes mostly about like teenagers. Hank Green writes, and I did have some criticisms of the book, of Hank Green's first book, but he writes mostly about kids, like, well, young adults that are like after college. Well, at least that's what his first book was about. So it was about a bunch of kids, like they had graduated from college and they were working, and then it was about like kind of this alien thing, but not really. It's really, like, this is the thing that's so interesting about it, is that Hank Green is a genius writer, because it's about social commentary and really about social media influencers. Like, the second book is really a lot about, well, so anyway, something to do with YouTube in the first one, and aliens and stuff like that. And it was so good. I loved the first one. So I'm reading the second one, or I'm listening to it on Audible as I drive around. And I've really struggled to get into it, because it literally picks up like 6 months after the first, or a year after the first one. No. Like 6 months after the first one ends. And I'd kind of forgotten how the first one ends. You know, that's like one of the things I hate, which is why I don't typically read, like, you know, series and things like that, because I forget where the last one ended, you know? So anyway, it picks up where the last one kind of ended, like 6 months later or something like that. And it's told from like 4 different people's points of view. I think the first book was just told by the main character's point of view. So I'm like reading it, I'm like an hour into it, and I'm like, God, it's like 15 hours, it's 15 hours and 46 minutes and 14 seconds long. And I'm like, this is a long book. I don't know that I'm like really into this right now, right? So I'm reading it, and I'm reading it, and I'm reading it, and I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden, I got like totally hooked on this book. Like, I can see the sunspot, you guys, right there. I'm sorry about that. But all of a sudden, I just was like, this book is fantastic. Like, it is so good. And his writing, I mean, he is genius, the way that he weaves these storylines together with these 3 different characters. And, there's like this whole like thriller mystery intrigue to the thing that you don't really know what's going on. And so I'm just so impressed with it. So if you have not read Hank Green's books, definitely go check them out. I enjoy, actually, I've read all of John Green's books, and I personally, I think I like Hank Green's books better. I really, really do. And like I said, not that they should be compared to each other just because they're brothers, but like I was really surprised, because like when the first book came out, I was like, oh, so Hank Green's writing a book because his brother is a writer, you know? And I was like, I didn't have really that high of expectations, but when it came out, I was like, oh my God, this is like phenomenal. I was just super impressed with it, right? And then the second one, I was like, oh, this is gonna be hard for me to get into. I just got blood work done, look. And this thing is like driving me crazy and it's like hurting me, so I'm just gonna take it off. It's not serving any purpose whatsoever anyway. I can't even see where she took the blood. But anyway, maybe she didn't and they're just charging me for it. I'd be so bitter. But anyway. But I'm like loving the second book. Like, I am so into it. I'm like, oh my God, I love this book. This book is so good. Like, I can't wait to get into my car and listen to it, is how I'm feeling. And I haven't been like that with a book for a while, so I'm really happy. Maybe this will get me kind of like, I feel like I've been in kind of a reading slump the last 2 months. You know, I was so excited about summer and sitting outside and reading and things like that, and I just haven't been doing a whole lot of it. And so, I don't know. I have been wanting to read this series, even though I said I don't like series. It's a middle grade series. It's like elementary to middle grade, but it's more middle grade, and it's called The Witch's Sister series, and it's by Phyllis Reynolds Naylor. And when I was a kid, I read, like, there was 3 of them. Witch's Sister, Witch's Water, and The Witch Herself. Those were the only 3 that existed that I know of, like when I was in elementary or middle school. And I used to check them out and read them over and over and over again. I loved Witch's Sister. That was my favorite. And Witch's Water I read, but I don't think I ever read The Witch Herself. So I was talking about it one night on a vlog or something, and somebody commented and said, did you know there was actually like 7 books in the series? And I was like, what? 7 books in the series? I did not know. So I got on like thrift books and all this kind of stuff, and I have all 7 books now of the Witch's Sister series. And I think they take place, the first one takes place in the summer, and I've been wanting to read them for the longest time. So I actually emailed myself today because I was like, don't forget Witch's Sister. So I'm going to pull it out today, and I'm going to start reading that, and I want to see if I can maybe get that series done in the next 2 months or something like that. We'll see. I mean, that's, you know, pipe dream for me to read that much. But yeah, I just have been kind of in a reading slump. I don't know what it is. When I've been in my car, I've been listening to a lot of music and just been like, you know, I don't know. I just haven't, like, I've been dancing a lot in my car, especially in the last 2 weeks, because if you've been watching my other videos, I hurt my back and my leg. So when I get in my car, I'm very comfortable because I'm sitting. And so I'll like pump up some music and just kind of like dance in my car and stuff. It's really nice. All right, let's talk about Deviant for a second, which was, if you're part of the book club, hi book club, how are you? We're coming up with merch very, very soon. I have somebody that is coming up with logos for all of my new merch for my other channel, and she's fantastic. And so I asked her if she would come up with something for the book club. So she's coming up with some stuff. I just kind of gave her some colors and some ideas, and then Mel and I are going to kind of like look through it and see what we would like. Okay. First of all, if you're part of the book club, I want to say thank you so much for being patient, for me having to postpone the live stream discussion because of like my leg hurting and not knowing if I would be able to actually just like sit there, you know? So thank you, I really, really appreciate it. Second of all, we have not come up with the September book yet, and I need to be announcing that soon. So that'll be in the next couple days, I'll be announcing that. I want to talk about Deviant. Okay, so the July book, Deviant, was about Ed Gein, and I haven't talked about it at all, and we haven't had the live stream discussion about it or anything. So I gave the book a 4 out of 5. I loved the book. I thought it was fantastic as a true crime book. I was super, super impressed with it. It was written beautifully. The writer just like, I don't know, I felt like I wasn't really at times really reading a true crime book. I felt like I was just listening to some prose. Like, I thought it was so beautifully written. I knew nothing about Ed Gein going into it. And by the way, for those of you that say it's Ed Gein, in the book, he's even asked in an interview, Ed Gein is asked in an interview, is it Gein or is it Gein? And he says, I don't know, I always just pronounced it Gein. So I guess nobody knows what it is. But the family history is so interesting about how they like play the family history into all of this. Now, I will tell you, I just finished last night watching I'll Be Gone in the Dark, the HBO special that is about Michelle McNamara's book, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer. If you have not read that book, it is the most fantastic true crime book I've ever read in my entire life, number one. Number two, if you have HBO, start the documentary. But read the book first. People keep on asking me, and I'm like, read the book first. The book is so good. But it was interesting because when you watch the documentary, and this is really in the last episode, so I don't want to ruin it for people, I'm only just going to kind of highlight it. They talk about, like, there are family members of his in this series, and of the killer, Joseph DeAngelo, and they talk, it was so powerful, you guys. I mean, it is like the survivors taking back their story. It is so powerful when you watch this. Anyway, they talk about, like, a lot of his, like, family stuff growing up and what happened to him and why he might have ended up the way that he was and things like that. And I'm not saying that that's an excuse, because a lot of people have had 100 times worse things. But it's interesting when you watch that and then you read, you know, there's serial killers out there that had totally normal upbringings too. So it's neither here nor there. But, you know, when you read it and like in the Ed Gein book, and you hear about his childhood and what his mother was like and all this kind of stuff. If you don't know, Ed Gein was who they based Psycho after, and also a couple other movies, but really Psycho was, like, he was called the original Psycho or something like that. So when you read about it, though, and then you hear about their childhoods and how their childhoods affected, you know, like, who they were later as an adult, it's very interesting. Joseph DeAngelo, the Golden State Killer, literally was the guy who everyone is like, I would never have guessed that this is who he was. Like, like everybody in his life is just, they're mind blown. They just can't believe it. Ed Gein, like, people always thought he was very different, you know? I will say this, the book spent a lot of time on, like, his growing up, and it spent very short time on, like, the murders. And I think that's probably because they didn't know a lot about the murders at that time, or they didn't, you know what I mean? Like, there wasn't, like, a lot of attention to the actual murders in the book. And then there's a lot of attention paid to, like, the trials and afterwards and things like that. There were some things I didn't understand in there, though, that was interesting, like he was legally insane. They defined him as legally insane. So that was his defense. And so he was in a mental institution till the day he died. He was like 84 when he died. Oh, I think he was like 78 when he died, but it was like in 1984. He died of, like, respiratory failure, and he had cancer. What was I gonna say? Shoot, I just forgot what I was going to say. I was, like, reading this person's, like, things on the back of their car, and I don't understand. When people, like, just, like, put the bumper stickers that have, like, like, it says, like, 13:1, 26:2. Aren't those, like, Bible quotes? But, like, I don't know what those Bible quotes are, so that doesn't mean anything to me. You know what I mean? I love to read bumper stickers. I love to read anything. When I was a kid, I would eat, like, cereal in the morning for breakfast. I always had to have, like, I love to read the cereal boxes. Did you guys ever do that? Like, I would read anything when I was a kid. Anything. I love to read anything. I love the comics, too. That was, like, one of my favorite things to read as a kid. But anyway, yeah, they didn't focus a lot on that. But anyway, he, on the murders, but he, like, they found that he was, like, legally insane, but then his doctor said that he could stand trial, and so he went back to court, but then his defense was that he was legally insane. So they closed the case, or whatever, I guess. Was he acquitted? I'm, like, so confused, because then it was like, because of the court case and the way that the judge found him as legally insane, that if the hospitals ever found him to be sane, I guess he would have just been released to the public. Like, he wouldn't have gone to prison. He would have just been released to the public or something. I'm so confused by it. But the book was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I don't think it's the best book that I've read in the book club, but I would say it's probably in the top 4, I would say. The one about John Wayne Gacy was really good. I'll Be Gone in the Dark, we didn't read during that. American Predator, that was probably my favorite that we've read since we started the book club. What else? Well, I really liked Zodiac. What were some of the other ones that we've read? I don't know. So anyway, let me know what you think about if you've read Deviant. And have you seen the I'll Be Gone in the Dark documentary? If not, go check that out. And I will say this, I just found this book last night. So I don't get Book of the Month Club anymore. Quite frankly, it wasn't that I wasn't impressed with it. I just thought like it was books that were, I mean, it was like going to the bookstore and buying one of 5 books that you had to buy because you had the subscription, and then like they stamp Book of the Month on it. But I always go over there because they pick like books that are kind of trending, and then I look to see what their top 5 are for the month. And their thriller for the month is this book called Night Swim. And it's about this woman that has like a crime podcast. It's very much like for murderinos. Are you a murderino? Oh my God, I'm a murderino. Of like my favorite murderino. But it's like this woman that has this podcast, and she like helped this guy get out of prison or something like that. That was like a convicted killer. And then she goes to this small town for this murder. I'm thinking about getting it, and I'm gonna read it. It sounds really, really good. So anyway, if you guys have any book recommendations, let me know. I will be putting up, Mel and I need to talk about the September book. I think we've kind of narrowed it down to what we wanted, like 1 or 2 ideas. So we will be coming up with that in the next couple days, and I'll be letting you guys know, and then she'll be putting it on the Facebook group. And then we'll also let you know when the live stream is going to be, and if we're going to just do the July and August book together. So we'll probably do that. People are not loving either the July or the August book. I loved Deviant. I thought it was great. And I also feel like I know a lot about Ed Gein now. I didn't know really anything about him before, but I will tell you this. If you look at the pictures online of Ed Gein, what they found, there is a chair that has a face in it. He is like, because he would like use people's skin and stretch it out. You guys, it's so freaky. I swear to God. Now they said that, like in the book, they said chair that had like skin stretched out and all this kind of stuff. Girl, oh my God, he had, I almost called y'all girl, because that's how I say it to my girlfriends. I'm always like, girl, but girl, he had the weirdest stuff. He had like cans full of like noses. Oh my God, I was so freaked out. And chewing gum and stuff. It was disgusting. And all kinds of other things like privates and things. He was not right, you guys, obviously. Oh my God. But the amount of people that he killed, it surprises me that they didn't talk more about the murders. But, you know, it is what it is. So I don't really care so much about that anyway. But yeah, Karen, and also if you haven't watched I'll Be Gone in the Dark on HBO, Karen Kilgraf, who is one half of my favorite murder podcast, she is a huge part of the documentary. Like they interview her a lot throughout there. So anyway, because she was like a huge fan of Michelle McNamara's blog. I didn't even know Michelle McNamara had a true crime blog where she did all these other things. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. So anyway, that's my update for the day. Let me know what you guys are reading in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will be back later with another video. Bye!